everybody, I'm Oakley at Oakley Does Everything, and today we're going to turn this scrap hardwood into these baby wood blocks. Stay tuned. So this project works really well if you have a bunch of extra hardwood. So for example, I have a lot of scrap pieces of this maple wood, all kinds of sizes as you can see here. What we're going to do is we're going to turn these into wood blocks that a baby can play with. Not only just regular square or cube size wood blocks, but we're also going to be making longer ones that have a couple different surfaces to stack them on. So it's not just going to be squares. I did a little bit of research and I found that almost any American hardwood is good to use for baby toys, with the exception of using walnut and I think they said oak, because they're more oily than other hardwoods. Since I'm using maple, it doesn't really matter, but make sure that you look into what kind of woods you can actually use. Again, that's just some research that I found. I'm sure everybody's gonna find different things, so make sure you're using something that you're comfortable with using for your baby. So now I'm just gonna take some of these pieces, cut them down into more manageable sizes, and then we'll get to sanding. Alright, so we have a lot of blocks and we're going to go ahead and sand them into a couple different shapes. I do have a triangle piece, we'll just leave that off to the side. It's pretty smooth, so we don't have much to do with it. We have a couple pieces that are fairly square, like this guy, so not much to do. So the pieces that we have that are closer to being cubes, we'll just leave them as is, sand the 6 sides. The pieces that we have that are longer, like this guy, we're going to go ahead and do different angles of it. I'll do one of these and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So this is the idea we're going for. It's kind of like rock shaped, not very specific dimensions, very irregular all the way around. But we want to make sure that whenever it's being laid down, the top has a flat surface to be laid on. And then that way we can stack more blocks on top of it, like so, and even being able to be stacked on top vertically if you're doing longer pieces. Now it won't necessarily have like weird angles like that, but that's not the idea. You want it to have a flat surface on the top regardless of what end it lands on. That way we can stack more on top of it. Now the idea is to just go through this pile and just do that. Alright, so we have our blocks belt sanded down to what we want them to be. Again, these are all just random shapes. Again, so long as they have some flat surfaces to stack on top of and whatnot. Like so. The belt that I was using on the sander is an 80 grit belt, and I want these to be a little bit nicer. I'm now going to go ahead and switch over to my 120 grit belt, and then do the same thing on all the surfaces. And then after that, we might go ahead and go up to 120 just with hand sanding. Alright, so what I've done is I went back and I sanded everything with the belt sander to 120 grit, and then I went through and I hand sanded some of the rougher surfaces, but I also rounded over the corners because they're pretty sharp, and giving them a nice round over is going to make it a little bit more comfortable and not going to be so abrasive on anybody's hands or skins or mouth or whatever. So everything has just a slight curve to it. So far I've taken my vacuum and sucked off all the dust off of these, and you just saw me take a microfiber cloth and go a step further and wipe them down. Now what we're going to do is, we bought this this little wood finish kit from, it's called Essential Montessori. They're handmade toys out of Massachusetts. You can find them on Etsy. And so this finish is basically a combination of beeswax and organic olive oil. So I'm just gonna go ahead and take some of this finish, rub it on my finger, and basically rub it all over these blocks. And then after that, you can take the microfiber cloth. They provide one for you, or you could probably just use your own, and then you're just gonna polish these blocks up. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. They also provide a sponge sanding block, and I would imagine these are for if you're resurfacing them. So if this finish wears off, you can come back, use this, rough it up a little bit, and then reapply it. But since I've already hand sanded quite a bit, this isn't really necessary. So I've just taken this and covered the whole thing, and you can just kind of rub it in. And at this point, you can take that cloth and then just go ahead and polish it. You're basically just rubbing it in at this point. And that looks pretty nice. All right, we'll do a couple more. So the reason I'm putting this on instead of like a shellac or something like that is because this is specifically baby safe. I mean, it's just beeswax and olive oil. From the research that I've done, you can use shellac. If you saw my baby xylophone video, which you can watch with that tag wherever it is up at the top of the screen, you'll know that you might remember that I used shellac on the frame of that xylophone, or that glockenspiel. And that's okay. From the research that I did, shellac is okay to use. When it dries, it is a natural material or a natural substance, and so it's something that is baby safe for them. But you know, so like if that's something you want to do, you can probably do that. But again, do it at your own risk, do your own research to make sure that that's something that you're okay with. Man, look at how good that looks. Oh, spalted, nice. So yeah, so just make sure that whatever you use as a finish, you are comfortable with, and know that you're okay with the decisions you make to do it. But yeah, this is just an option, a very natural option, and it still looks really good. Man, I like that a lot. Alright, anyway, that is it for this week's video. Thank you so much for watching. I very much appreciate it. If you're interested in seeing more videos where I use recycled or repurposed materials, I have a playlist right here for you. And again, if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, I would really appreciate it if you did that. That button's right here in the middle. Other than that, I'll see you on the next build. Bye.